Today on the podcast, we sit down with Jorge Resendiz from the House of the Orange Blossom, located in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. So really a fascinating conversation that we had with him around his journey to venue ownership and how the industry is different down there in South Texas. I'm excited about this episode. I think you're going to love it. Let's dive in.
We document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
Jorge, welcome to the Venue RX. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited.
Well, I'm really excited about chatting with you as well. You know, before we jumped on here, we were just talking about the location of your venue, where you're located. And, you know, I'm from Texas, from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Where in Texas are you guys located?
We are in Weslaco, Texas, the southern tip of Texas.
Wow, awesome. Okay, so you are in... you're how close to the coast are you?
We are actually very close to Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a border town.
Okay. Very cool. Border towns come up a lot, I think, recently in the news, right? And I'm curious. I'm gonna ask some questions. I'm curious about the impact that maybe that has on the weddings that you do, the types of weddings, you know, being such a close border town. I actually lived in Mexico, in Celaya, for 6 months.
Oh, yeah. Guanajuato.
Yeah, Guanajuato, right there. And so we went back across the border. Obviously, it was much longer than where you guys are located. But I'm curious. So could you give me a little bit of a backstory on how you got into the wedding industry?
Well, it was like over 20 years ago. I was a banker. I was managing a bank for, the last 15 years. And then I started doing wedding planning on the side. And well, 15 years later, it turns out, now that I have an amazing job, an amazing career. So it just started because I got bored and I wanted to do something extra and as a hobby. And now I made it into a career.
Wow. I was going to say the jump from banker to wedding planning, wedding venues, I mean, that's a pretty big jump. What inspired you? Like, what was the first thing that exposed you to the wedding industry?
Well, when you're in the banking industry, I mean, you get to do events, but they give you no budget. And they throw in, okay, we have to do an amazing party and a corporate event, but this is your budget. So we have to be creative in asking for sponsors, just working with our budget. And that's how it started. And since we were doing a lot of events, a lot of recognitions, a lot of corporate events with sponsorships, and we're getting things for free and things like that, even though the bank had money, but they didn't want to spend it, of course. So one of my colleagues says, hey, since you do a lot of events, could you do my wedding? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do it. So I planned the whole thing at actual South Patio Island. And from there, it was, I mean, that's how it started, basically.
So help me then understand from that point where you were, maybe getting excited about the wedding industry specifically, how did you get into owning the venue that you own today?
So I started renting. So my first part of the business started wedding consultation, wedding planning, and all that. So I started doing the wedding, the wedding planning and organization and all that. And then I started acquiring like furniture, rentals and all that, and then linens and then flowers, and then one thing led to another. And then, 15 years later, I lost my business due to COVID. So I was leasing an amazing event center for the last 6 years before COVID. I made money, but I was leasing it. It was never going to be mine, but I made good money. And then after COVID, I had to let it go because, of course, we couldn't do any more events. And so, and I was just tired of working for other people, managing other event centers and so forth. So then my partner and I decided, okay, it's time for us to look for something that is ours. And we found this property abandoned for the last 10 years. It's a colonial house, 1913 colonial house that was abandoned. And as soon as we saw it, we fell in love with it. I'm like, okay, that's our wedding venue. That's ours. And we made an offer. And then a year later, we just opened last year, now we're doing weddings here.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. So, and this one you purchased. This one's yours?
Yes, this one we purchased.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Awesome.
Have you noticed, I'm actually really fascinated to ask you this question. Have you noticed a difference between your experience operating the venue now that you own it versus before when you just releasing it out?
Yes. So, well, I mean, there is a slight change. I mean, both, you know, when you're leasing a property, I mean, you have full reign over it. So it was like, it was mine. You know, the owners, they didn't have anything to do with it. So basically I was running it like it was mine. But now it's kind of special because it's mine. And I know that, you know, if everything that everything that I do, you know, it's for the, to just, it's mine. I don't know how to explain it. It's very, I mean, it's different because now I don't see it as a work. I see it as,
it's your thing. You're building into your legacy. Yeah, 100%.
So anything that you put into it, you know, it's an investment, and it's people are gonna enjoy it, and so it's definitely different because you own it. So now everything that you put in all the money, it's worth it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. That's cool. We don't currently own any of the 5 venues that we manage here in Southern California, but we definitely would like to own some one day. And I know that we're moving in that direction, but we've thought about that. My wife and I have thought about that quite a bit. And so that's cool. Tell me a little bit about the property itself.
So the property, it's like I mentioned before, it's a 1913 colonial house. So when we first acquired it, we just thought it was a house with, 1 acre of property in the back of land. Well, when we actually closed the sale, or we did the survey, it turned out that we had 3 acres instead of 1. So that made it even better because now we had parking and we had a lot of more things that we could do. So the property itself is 3,500 square feet. It's a 2-story colonial house. We remodeled the whole thing from beginning to end. So we have a bridal suite inside. We have a groom suite. We have the main ballroom that people can take pictures and so forth. So, and then outside we do have a chapel. We built a chapel. We also built a enchanted garden, and we also have a wedding arbor. And then we did a covered pergola that we can fit up to 200 guests inside that. But we're strictly outdoors. We're strictly outdoors. So we're considered an outdoor wedding venue.
Okay, that makes sense. And it sounds like, with the exception of the, bridal quarters, some of the areas like the getting ready areas, the covered outdoor area with the pergola, that's more where like the reception takes place?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. So you host weddings there then for guest counts of up to 200?
Up to 200, correct.
Makes sense. Do your venue, there's a couple different styles of venues. I know there's like the blank canvas venues where people are pretty much bringing everything in, and then there's all-inclusive venues. And I know there's other styles in between there, but what do you offer as far as packages for clients that are looking to get married there?
So it's a little bit different because the venues, our market is very different down here. All of the venues, mostly, 90% of the venues, they do offer packages, and they don't let anyone else come in. So you pretty much have, if you go to a venue and rent it, they're beautiful, but you have to go through their package. But that's just industry standard. So what I've done also, the all-inclusive packages, but also rent the estate by itself, meaning that they can just rent the space and they can bring their own vendors. Because I didn't want to impose, I didn't want to impose on my clients and say, oh, you have to go through me, because, one, what if they don't like my style? 2, what if they don't like the catering that I have? So there's the possibility of them bringing their own vendors, and that's okay with us.
Has that been pretty popular in the area now that you're doing that, or not really?
No, a lot of people, like industry standards, they'll go with their all-inclusive package, and they'll go with that package, even though I just want to rent it by itself and not worry about anything. And says, here's my property, I'll just rent it. You take care of everything. They won't. People want the all-inclusive. And not only that, I mean, they know my background. They know what I can do. They know that, I have my background in, wedding planning and organization and do flowers and things like that. So they like that. They're like, no, we want to hire you to do everything. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. But what we want to accomplish in the future is allow other vendors to come in and take care of everything. I want to retire early. I don't want to be doing everything.
100%. Like anyone knows, who's an owner and an operator, it's a lot of work. It's so much work. It's a long day. You're obviously doing some of the planning. You mentioned, what's industry standard down there, and also just how the industry is different. Could you explain to me, tell me, and the listeners and the viewers here, how do you feel like the wedding industry is different down there? It's in the Rio Grande Valley, is that?
Rio Grande Valley, yeah.
Okay. How is it different there versus other places that maybe you've heard?
Well, I've done weddings, upstate in Austin, San Antonio, where, you go to a hotel, you just rent the hotel, you just rent the space. Just a couple of years ago, I did one in Bertie, Texas, where the bride just fell in love with a house, and it was just a house with, something similar to what we have. Well, it was just $7,000 just to rent the space by itself with chairs and tables for up to 100 guests. So those $7,000 here, I mean, you can do a lot more stuff because everything's less expensive than upstate. So that's what's different. That upstate, in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, there's no such thing as packages. So everything's customized, and you just rent the space by itself, and then you bring on your own vendors, your own caterer, your own everything. Here, there's no such thing. You have to get a package, and because people are just used to that, that's what people want. They don't want to be taken care of like, oh, I want to bring my own caterer, I want to bring my own flowers. I guess they don't have time, and it's more convenient for them to have everything all inclusive with a venue.
Mm-hmm. And so this might, I really want to ask this question. It might come off as ignorant, maybe, but I want to ask it because I am curious. We here in San Diego, where I live, is about 45 minutes from the U.S.-Mexico border. So we're pretty close to Tijuana, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that. Do you have a lot of people either coming from Mexico up to a venue or to a wedding, maybe relatives, family members, whoever, things like that coming up, or do you not see that as much?
Oh yeah, that's very common. I mean, we have people, we're like 30 minutes away from the border. So, and that's just a common trend that people come and go. So we do have a lot of traffic from Mexico.
Okay. That's very cool. I was thinking about that, the customs maybe of obviously as Texas, as you go more and more south, there's more of a Hispanic influence. Being so close to the border, I assume the Hispanic influence is very, very strong. Do you also do other types of events, quinceañeras, other sorts of events like that?
Yes, quinceañera is a big business down here. There's even, you talk about going the all-inclusive, there's even venues that have they sell the wedding dress with the package and even the quinceañera dress with the package. So sometimes I get, they ask me, hey, do you also include invitations and, wedding dresses? And I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that because that's a whole different business. And the least thing that I want is people, I don't want to be making $100 on an item that I don't have control over. And so that's why I don't do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's very interesting hearing about different types of wedding cultures and event cultures. I talked to a venue owner from Utah, and even just like with the heavy Mormon influences there, the style of weddings being so different with not having dancing, not having alcohol, some of those things totally are really mind-blowing. So you mentioned before we got on that you do some venue consulting with some other venues in the area. When you see a venue owner or someone looking to start a venue in that area, what are some of the common problems maybe that they're trying to overcome?
Staffing, first of all, someone that doesn't know, they have trouble. I mean, they open the beautiful place, but they don't have someone to be there and sell it. And I told the owner, it's not something that they have to have experience on. It's more something like an attitude kind of thing and more customer service, because, that's what it is. I mean, when we opened this venue last year in February, my first booking was in March, and we didn't have anything done. We didn't have restrooms. It looked awful. And they came in and they booked it. Our first event was March. So now go back to those pictures and they looked awful. I don't know why I rented it by, like that. But that's one of the major challenges, is hiring people to do the right job, like salespeople and coordinators who know how to sell the event center itself.
Do you feel like staffing is an issue specifically in your area, or is that just kind of in general, people are struggling with staffing because it's harder to find good people?
Well, I think one of the challenges is that venue owners want to, they want to sell, they want to book it, they want to make sure that the place is rented. So that's one of the biggest challenges, finding the right people. Because I mean, you can just hire someone to be there, but if they don't know how to sell it, and they're not passionate about what they're seeing and how to tell the customer, like how to make a vision for the customer and say, hey, we can do this, we can do that, and that's the challenge.
That makes a lot of sense. As we're talking about team here, do you currently have a team there that you work with at your venue?
No, me and my husband, we do everything here. We do everything from tours, from, the flowers, you see me like this because I was taking care of the lawn right now. It is a 3-acre property, so we do that ourselves. We contracted someone, but I don't like the way they're doing it. So I'm like, I'm going to just do it myself.
Yeah. Sometimes when you can stay in charge of quality control, it is more labor intensive, but it gets done the way that you want it to get done.
Exactly. Correct.
That makes sense. Talk to me about marketing, and I'm curious about some of your systems and things like that. How are you currently getting business?
So I only rely on 3 things: Facebook, Instagram, and then I do contract a local wedding magazines to do, part of the advertisement. But based on what I research, and the magazine doesn't work. So I rely on Facebook and Instagram. I pay advertisement on that, and that has worked for us a lot.
Did you learn the Facebook and Instagram advertising yourself, or did you find someone who could run the ads for you?
So I do it myself to save money, of course. And of course, it's not perfect, but I didn't hire anyone. But it would be a good idea if someone would tell me, hey, there's this company that teaches you, or runs with it, and then I would just let them do it, because I've gotten my money back already with just Facebook advertisement and Instagram advertisement. The magazine, I do it just because I have to be. It's like a prestigious kind of thing down here to be out there. It is a very nice magazine, and the who's who of the wedding industry is there, and that's the only reason why I do it, because I want to get those high-end weddings and those high-end events. That it works, yes, it does, but very slowly. It's a very good magazine. It does work, but very, very slowly.
It sounds like maybe it helps you have that reputation because people see you on that magazine, maybe, but then you're connecting. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I used to do also a lot of wedding expos. And I stopped doing that. I stopped doing that. I'm not going to do that anymore. I didn't see the benefit behind it. We were there Sundays, and we have, it seems like every 3 months we have a wedding expo, show up. And then we were like so eager to do it. And, you get that excitement. But it hasn't worked for us. I haven't seen we used to do like a lot of appointments, and then, I don't know. So it didn't work for us. So I stopped doing that. So we don't do weddings anymore.
That's funny. I was just talking to a venue owner in Oklahoma City, right outside of Oklahoma City. And he said a very similar thing. He said, they used to do a lot of bridal shows, a lot of expos, and just people are not using those as much. And so it was a waste of money and time.
Yeah. And then I don't do open houses anymore. I used to, and I don't do open houses anymore. I guess I'm just tired and said, no, I don't want to do that. And the reason why, there is it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to do, an open house. And for us, I don't know. I don't think it's profitable. So I stopped doing that. What I do, I focus on a lot of private tours on the venue. And that has worked tremendously. People like that. People like to, have one-on-one interaction. And then, that we do, every day.
Do you have a sense? Oh, so you said every day. Do you have a sense of how many tours you do every week or every month, if you had to guess?
Yeah. So usually we do more or less, no more, probably like 10. Our average is 10 a week.
Okay. That's
10
good
a
though.
week.
40 a month, 30, 40 a month?
Yeah. Sometimes people get crazy, and we've had this past week on Monday, the last week, we had 3 tours on one day.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, but it's by appointment only. It's not something that they can show up. And, people, we have a booking system where they book their private tour, and then we approve it, and we kind of screen who's going to come in. We ask some questions, when is your wedding date? How many people, things that we're very specific, and we want to screen them because we just don't want anyone just to show up and waste our time.
Yeah.
Basically. A lot of people are curious about the house and so forth, but we do screen them before they come in. So that has helped tremendously.
Awesome. How many events are you targeting to do for this year, for example?
Good question. My goal is to do 30 events.
Okay.
But we'll surpass that already.
I was going to say, if you're doing, 30, 40 tours a month, you're going to get to 30 events booked pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a goal number of events that you'd like to get to?
Like a number, I want to do at least 52.
Okay.
Minimum 52. That's my goal.
Is that pretty common in that area, or would that be like extremely high for your area?
No, remember, we're outdoors. So for outdoors, it's a little bit more challenging because of our weather. South Texas is extremely hot. We have weird weather. I would say for someone that has an indoor venue, that would be a minimum.
Okay.
Yeah.
To have an indoor outdoor area. So talk to me about the seasons a little bit, because I know, when I lived in Texas, you kind of had 2 seasons, but that was also up in the Fort Worth area. So it was like you had a couple months during winter that were not great, and then you had a couple summer months that were way too hot. Do you have like a winter time, or is that really a nice time and because you're further down, closer to the equator?
Yeah. So October, November, December, and January, even up to February and April, those are good times for outdoor weddings.
Okay. Oh, so you really just have 2 seasons, like a peak season that goes all the way through the winter, and then the summer is off?
Correct, the summer. But we do events during the summer.
Okay. It's just hot.
It's just very hot.
Fair. Okay, very cool. As far as things like, systems that maybe have helped you be successful or, process the work that you're doing, how are you keeping track of couples when they book with you? Are you using like a CRM system or a planning tool or something like that?
So no, I keep everything manual. I like to have it, I make my notes the old way.
Yes.
I don't rely on computer system because I don't know why. I'm just old fashioned, but I have everything, I do the contracts manually and so everything's manually written down. That's what I do.
Okay. Hey, as long as you keep good files, sometimes those are easier to access than, trying to have to figure out a big computer system, and then you lose something and then you delete it and,
Yeah. And people down here, they want that personal touch, so if I send them someone, I've tried it. If I send someone online or email or a contract through there, they're like, no, they want to see me. They want to come and see me. They want to know who they're having business with and that part. So that's why I do it too. It's just easier.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Do you have a lot of people who are more like from the area, or do you have people who are flying in or coming in from out of town who are visiting the venue?
So yeah, no, most of my contracts are locals.
Okay.
or that students have gone, out of state to, to study in the colleges, and then they come back with their families. So, but mostly we are a local community. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I have a couple more questions, and then I'll ask you the final question that I like to ask everybody, but I'm going to give you a little preview of it. I usually ask, what's your favorite part of owning the venue? And then what's your least favorite part of owning the venue? So I'm going to ask you that in just a second. But before we get to that, I was curious, when you think about your journey in owning the venue, and you think about your journey in kind of your wedding experience, if you were going to go back kind of before you started the venue, would you do anything different as far as like, would you build your venue from the ground up, or do you like that you took over that really is like a historic building?
Well, we built this from the ground up. It wasn't a wedding venue when we acquired it. It was just a house.
So tell me about that a little bit more, because I maybe misheard. I thought you were saying you bought it and then I know you said you renovated it.
We bought the property, but it was just a house with a big lot. That's what it was. It was an abandoned 1913 house, and we converted it into a wedding venue.
Okay.
So we did it from ground up.
Oh, wow. So how was that experience? Like, for someone listening to this right now, thinking about maybe buying a venue like that's already built versus building it, I mean, what was that experience like?
Well, first of all, you save a lot of money if you do it from scratch, like me. They just buy something abandoned, something old, and then you just convert it into, a venue. I would recommend 100% to do that route, because there's a lot of venues out here for sale, but you're going to pay premium pricing for that. Mm-hmm. My partner makes fun of me, and he gets upset because I tell him, hey, we should just sell it and build, buy something else and, buy a property and build it. And he's like, no. But I got it at a very good price. But right now, I think it would be, if I sell it, I could sell and make very good money on it, because it's already established. Mm-hmm. So if an investor wants to come in and take over it, well, I would do it. I would sell it.
Yeah. I'm curious, because a lot of the chatter that I've heard in the industry is that maybe because of the economics, I know there's a bit of inflation, or I guess maybe deflation. Like, the value of the peso to the dollar is a little bit lower in the past couple months, 6 months or so. I know the dollar is weakening. I know, economically things are on shaky ground. And so the people are thinking about that as they're booking their weddings. Are you feeling the impact of that where you are, or not as much?
No, not really. I think people in the wedding industry who's looking for a wedding, they're always going to get married, and they're always going to have a quinceañera. And I don't know how they're going to come up with money, but they are. Mm-hmm. So we haven't seen, I saw it through COVID, and the only reason I saw it because the state wasn't allowing us to make any events. But if not, people would have still made their events. Mm-hmm. So COVID wasn't really, they were really scared of COVID. People were telling me like, I want to do my event. I said, I can't. I can't, because there's a regulation. I can't, because of the state of Texas. So we haven't seen that here. At least I haven't in my venue. As soon as we opened the doors, we started booking events.
That's awesome. That's very cool. And I'm glad to hear that. I know that is a conversation that I've had a couple of different times with different venue owners in the US. So that's an interesting topic. Speaking of, you said local regulation and things like that, when you were going through the process of, rehabbing the property and building the actual venue, was it difficult to work with the local county or city officials, or were they generally pretty helpful?
No, they were very helpful. I think they were excited about. Westlake was a small community inside several cities around it. So Westlake was growing, and I think people were excited more than anything that we took over the property, because it was abandoned for so many years, and we bought actually the iconic haunted house in Westlake. Okay. So we didn't know we had bought the haunted house. Everyone knows it by that. So as soon as we started remodeling and, making it known that we were going to be a wedding venue, everyone was excited. So I've had the city come in, the Chamber of Commerce, the school district, everyone wants to see the house, and we posted events for them, and they're more than anything excited and, about the project, because it was 100%. I mean, we converted this, 100%.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I love hearing that. Here where we are in California, usually it's very difficult to deal with the county or the city. It's extremely difficult. Like if you want a permit for an event center, it might take you 3 years just to get the permit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think down here, people are eager to open businesses, and we need the businesses. So I think it's I don't know, it's different.
That's cool. Hey, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Probably one of the reasons why we don't own any of the venues, but that's good to hear. Oh, you asked, it just reminded me, I was going to ask. So you said people knew it as the haunted house. Is it haunted? I have to ask.
We don't know yet. That's a good question. We don't know. It's funny because the first time we came to see it, the realtor, I didn't come. I was in a conference in Vegas, but my husband was here with the realtor, and I heard her say, "Oh, this house is never gonna sell. It's been on the market for more than 10 years. It needs a lot of work, and this house is never gonna sell." And I was in the background. I'm like, "Lady, you don't understand. That's gonna be my wedding venue." I was, and I was like telling my husband, "Let's make an offer. Let's make an offer. Let's make an offer." So we did. And I knew exactly what we wanted it for. Yeah. And it's funny because I thought it was going to be 1 acre, and it turns out to be 3 acre. So it was even better.
That's awesome. That's a good surprise.
So, and the reason why we found out that it was that it was known by a haunted house, because we posted it on Facebook, and everyone kept, putting comments on there. "Oh, the haunted house, the haunted house, the haunted house." And I'm like, "Oh my God, there goes my venue, and there goes my career." So it was really I was really worried about that. So all my investments, all my money, that's it. It's down the drain. I don't have a wedding venue anymore. But we just started playing around with it, and we turned it into a positive, and now it's a wedding venue.
That's cool. I love hearing that. All right, one last question before we get to wrap up today. And I really appreciate your time. This has been really fun, hearing about your venue and getting to know you a little bit more. When you are looking at the industry, and obviously you're in some venue groups and things like that, what ways are you looking to increase your knowledge of the industry? You mentioned you were at a conference in Vegas. Like, what ways are you using to educate yourself and kind of keep growing your knowledge of the industry?
Well, it's always good to learn new things. I'm in the association on Facebook, and there's always people asking questions, so forth. And it's a matter of protecting ourselves, for insurances and all that. There's a lot of people, since you deal with a lot of people at one point. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Someone might fall, and not, something, you didn't get the cake that you wanted, an ugly, an upset customer, things like that. So that really helps me. Every time someone posted something, I read it, and if I have something to, contribute to, of course I will. But I'm always learning from other venues and other things. And the reason why I started doing consulting is because since I used to lease and manage other event centers, I don't do that anymore. But now I'm saying, okay, if you want my expertise or if you want my knowledge, I would go into as a consultant, to make sure that you get the sales and you have the right people, and then the ifs and, the do's and don'ts. But again, all this is a learning experience. You learn, from each other. I know pretty much everyone in the wedding industry here, people that own venues and things like that. And I think that helped me, get to where I'm at right now, managing my own venue, because I know what works and what doesn't. But I think since I was managing and leasing other venues and working for other people, that helped me tremendously. Going back, I don't think that I could just do it without that knowledge. It's just easier to have that background.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. All right, well, now it's time for the final question. Your favorite part and then your least favorite part. But of course, let's start with the least favorite part and end on a positive.
The The least favorite part, I don't know. I enjoy every aspect of it. I think what worries me is like not being able to pay the mortgage. Like if I don't get bookings, I get stressing out. Like having done any tours and all that. That's the least thing that I like, not having tours or people here. The something that excites me and I look forward to is meeting people and doing the event itself. I mean, I love that. For me, it's a lot of fun. It's not work. I tell my clients I can do, weddings with my eyes closed. And it's fun. I enjoy it a lot. Every aspect of it, like the organization, the planning, the florals, and I get chills every time, they're doing their first dance. And then, every time they're walking down the aisle and they start crying, I start crying. It's like, so sometimes with us, they sometimes become family. They look forward to working with you, and since you do a good job, they continue to refer your business, and that's the most that I enjoy, doing that for my client.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Jorge, thank you so much for coming on today and just sharing your experience with us and your venue. I don't think we said it in the beginning, but the actual name of the venue is House of the Orange Blossom, correct?
That is correct. House of the Orange Blossom.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if people want to connect with you, if people want to, reach out to you, maybe even ask questions about venues, venue management, venue ownership, things like that, where is the best place to connect with you?
Through Facebook or to my phone number. They can just call me or drop me a text, and I can help out. That's not a problem.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, let's make sure we get all that info for you, from you, and we'll put it in the description on YouTube and in some of the Instagram links as well. And Jorge, it's been a great time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for the invitation. To make sure that you get the sales and you have the right people, and then the ifs and the do's and don'ts. But again, all this is a learning experience. You learn, from each other. I know pretty much everyone in the wedding industry here. People that own venues and things like that. And I think that helped me, get to where I'm at right now, managing my own venue, because I know what works and what doesn't. But I think since I was managing and leasing other venues and working for other people, that helped me tremendously. Going back, I don't think that I could just do it without that knowledge. It's just easier to have that background.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. All right, well, now it's time for the final question. Your favorite part and then your least favorite part. But of course, let's start with the least favorite part and end on a positive.
The least favorite part, I don't know. I enjoy every aspect of it. I think what worries me is like not being able to pay the mortgage. Like if I don't get bookings, I get stressing out. Like having done any tours and all that. That's the least thing that I like, not having tours or people here. The something that excites me and I look forward to is meeting people and doing the event itself. I mean, I love that. For me, it's a lot of fun. It's not work. I tell my clients I can do, weddings with my eyes closed. And it's fun. I enjoy it a lot. Every aspect of it, like the organization, the planning, the florals, and I get chills every time, they're doing their first dance. And then, every time they're walking down the aisle and they start crying, I start crying. It's like, so sometimes with us, they sometimes become family. They look forward to working with you, and since you do a good job, they continue to refer your business, and that's the most that I enjoy, doing that for my client.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Jorge, thank you so much for coming on today and just sharing your experience with us and your venue. I don't think we said it in the beginning, but the actual name of the venue is House of the Orange Blossom, correct?
That is correct. House of the Orange Blossom.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if people want to connect with you, if people want to, reach out to you, maybe even ask questions about venues, venue management, venue ownership, things like that, where is the best place to connect with you?
Through Facebook or to my phone number. They can just call me or drop me a text, and I can help out. That's not a problem. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, let's make sure we get all that info for you, from you, and we'll put it in the description on YouTube and in some of the Instagram links as well. And Jorge, it's been a great time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for the invitation.